All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Lately it feels like everyone is suddenly obsessed with falling asleep to different colors of noise. So today, we're diving straight into the actual science of sleep sounds to figure out what genuinely works for your brain, and we are going to rank white, pink, and brown noise purely by the science. Get this, millions of people are out there listening to brown noise every single night. I mean, brown and pink noise are these massive internet trends with countless devoted listeners. But here's the wild part. Only one of them has actually been shown in a lab to actively change what your brain does during deep sleep. And spoiler alert, it might not be the one you've been seeing all over your feeds. So, Section 1. What exactly are noise colors? Let's decode this spectrum. Basically, the color of a noise is just a way to describe how its energy is spread out across all the audio frequencies we can hear. It's literally just like a spectrum of light. If you think of sound as having low, deep rumbles at the very bottom, your midtones right in the middle, and those high, sharp hisses at the top, well, the color just tells us exactly how all those tones are mixed together. And these three main colors, white, pink, and brown, are really just the exact same concept tilted in different directions. White is flat and bright, pink is naturally balanced, and brown, that one is deep and heavy. Let's actually break each of these down a bit more closely so you know exactly what you're hearing. Starting with white noise, this one has equal energy everywhere across the spectrum. But because our human ears are super sensitive to high pitches, white noise can actually sound pretty sharp, bright, and honestly, sometimes a little harsh. You know that static sound between radio stations or a box fan running on full blast right next to your bed? That is white noise. Then we have pink noise. This one actually turns down those higher frequencies as they climb, effectively tilting all the energy toward the lower end. And what's really cool is that this perfectly matches the way human hearing is naturally built. It gives us this incredibly soothing, full, and remarkably balanced sound. If you picture steady rainfall, waves crashing on a beach, or wind rustling through the trees, yeah, you're picturing pink noise. And finally, brown noise, which, fun fact, is sometimes called red noise. With this one, there is a super steep drop in high frequencies. It drops those high pitches even more aggressively than pink noise does, and leaves you with this deep, enveloping rumble. Think of a heavy, rushing waterfall, or distant thunder. It makes total sense why this specific color took social media by storm for focus and calm. It just feels so incredibly heavy and cocooning. All right, Section 2, masking versus active enhancement. These are two totally different mechanisms. To really grasp the science here, we have to separate two completely different things happening in your environment. On one side, you have masking, which basically acts as a sound blanket to reduce the harsh contrast of sudden, jarring noises. On the flip side is active enhancement. This is an amazing process where sound actively deepens your slow brainwaves. They are absolutely not the same thing at all, and knowing the difference here changes the whole game. Because here's the deal, your sleeping brain is essentially a giant change detector. Masking works perfectly because your brain doesn't usually wake up to a constant, gentle background sound. It wakes up to sudden, disruptive changes, like a door slamming shut or a partner suddenly shifting in bed. By using something like white noise, you're just lowering the contrast between dead silence and that sudden noise. You're just blanketing your room. When we look at the timeline of clinical trials, there is a totally fascinating progression. Back in 2013, researchers first discovered pink noise's incredible effect on young brains. Fast forward to 2017, they proved it worked for older adults too. Then in 2019, they saw real benefits for people dealing with mild cognitive impairment. And jumping all the way to a 2025 meta-analysis, we now have rock-solid clinical proof that white noise effectively masks disruptions in super noisy places, like hospitals, which drastically improves patient sleep. Moving on to Section 3, the real sleep science, focusing on active enhancement. In these landmark lab studies out of Northwestern University and the University of Tübingen, researchers figured out something amazing. They found that precisely timed bursts of pink noise actually increased slow wave activity in the brain. They weren't just blocking out background noise anymore, they were actively amplifying the brain's restorative rhythm. In older adults, this literally tripled their next-day memory recall. No joke. The sound reached right into their deep sleep and made it profoundly deeper. But, okay, here's the myth-busting truth we really need to talk about. Despite its absolutely massive popularity online, with millions of people streaming it daily, brown noise has practically zero dedicated clinical sleep research of its own. None. The huge benefits people claim online, those are mostly just extrapolated from white and pink noise studies, all mashed up with personal anecdotes. And we've got to be totally honest about the science as a whole, too. A 2022 systematic review from the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine straight up reminds us that overall study quality is low, and the results are pretty mixed. What that really means is the evidence we have is super promising, for sure, but anyone trying to sell you a guaranteed magical sleep cure, yeah, they are running way, way ahead of the actual facts. Plus, there is a massive distinction you need to keep in mind. You know that huge memory boost we just talked about with pink noise? Well, that came from highly specialized closed-loop lab technology. We're talking about machines that actually read your brain waves in real time and fire sound bursts at the exact millisecond needed to sync up with your brain. That is vastly different from just putting a continuous pink noise track on loop from a smartphone app all night. Your phone definitely isn't syncing with your brain waves. It's just providing a steady masking sound.
Okay, Section 4, the honest noise ranking. Let's look at the hierarchy of evidence.
So here is our honest ranking, based purely on the scientific evidence. Coming in at number 1 is pink noise. It easily takes the top spot because of that strong lab evidence linking it to deep sleep and memory. Plus, it just sounds incredibly natural and pleasant. Number 2 is white noise. It's an unbelievably reliable masker, absolutely perfect if you're sleeping in a loud, chaotic environment, like a hospital ward or an apartment on a busy street. And at number 3, we have brown noise. Now, while it has very slim formal evidence in actual sleep trials, it is definitely the subjective comfort favorite. People just love that deep, cocooning rumble. Finally, Section 5, how to use it tonight. Let's go over some safe and effective tips. If you want to try this out, here are the absolute best evidence-based rules for safe usage in your bedroom. Step 1, keep the volume low. Step 2, place the speaker across the room. You want the sound to gently surround you, not blast directly into your eardrum. And step 3, give your brain a full week to adapt to this new routine before you decide if it's actually working for you. I really, really want to emphasize this one specific number right here, 50. Keep the volume under 50 decibels. Just to put that into perspective, that's roughly the volume of a quiet, relaxed conversation, or maybe a gentle rain falling outside your window. Louder is absolutely not better in this case. And please, always avoid blasting high-volume noise all night in your infants. It's just not safe. It's also super important to remember this. While colored noise is a fantastic, accessible tool to help soften a room and give your body a cue to rest, it is not a cure for chronic insomnia. If you're dealing with a persistent inability to sleep that lasts for weeks or months, you really need to treat the underlying disorder, often with things like cognitive behavioral therapy, rather than just relying on a sound file to fix it. Ultimately, the most crucial takeaway is that your subjective comfort matters immensely. The absolute best color for you is quite simply the one that quiets your particular night. If brown noise is the thing that relaxes you and helps your brain switch off consistently, then that is absolutely the right choice for you, even if the formal clinical trials haven't quite caught up yet. It's all about what helps you personally wind down. Which brings us to one final question for you. Based on all the fascinating science we just unpacked, which color are you going to use to quiet your room tonight? Are you going to test out that science-backed pink noise, rely on the proven masking power of white noise, or sink into the deep, cozy comfort of brown noise? Take a second to think about what your brain really needs to finally switch off. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. I hope you found it as mind-blowing as I did. Rest well, and I'll catch you next time.